In this video, I want to talk about iron gall ink, or oak apple gall ink, which I mentioned in yesterday's video about cutting your own quill pen. There you see on the left ferrous sulfate, which is iron sulfate. And as you can see, I bought a ton of it when I bought it. And on the right are the oak apple galls. Now, I had a little bit of a mental block about how the galls are formed, but I was basically right. There is a wasp called a gall wasp, and they go to oak trees, and whatever they do, they're laying eggs, which as they do it, I don't know if they use parts of the bark or if they burrow into the tree, but as they do it, and they're laying their eggs, this is what is left. And so it's called an oak apple gall, made by gall wasps laying their eggs. So I know of a couple of trees locally that have these all over them, and I think my mental block came in because I was about to grab them, and then of course remembered I'm allergic to bees. And I bought them from Kremer, which I'm going to put the link in the information box. And I haven't really had to gather them myself, although they're common around here. So luckily I stopped from gathering them myself, and I have to check more into the gall wasp and find out what their life cycle is. And I don't know, like this one doesn't have a hole in it, but one of the other ones did. I don't know if the wasps actually hatch out of here before these are harvested. So I could be holding a bunch of little dead baby wasps in there, I don't know. But anyway, what you do is, in this book, which is really another classic, the Pen and Ink book by Joseph A. Smith. This is the most wonderful book. I mean, really wonderful. And I don't know, about 25 years ago, when I bought this book, is when I first started making oak. I call it iron gall. He calls it oak apple or iron gall. He's also got recipes for sepia, bistra. He mentions sumi. Now, he's still referring to them as oriental inks. Okay, and how they can also come in liquid form, or as in the picture, this looks just like my grinding stone and stuff. So he talks all about different inks. And from this one column here, what you have to do to make iron gall ink is basically soak these little guys in water or wine for a week, and then add ferrous sulfate. And the ink, these are yellowish green, and when you add the ferrous sulfate, the ink turns purple. And then, about an hour after it's applied to paper, it'll start to turn black because of the oxidation in the air, and, well, on the ink interacting with the air. And then, as the ink ages, it will eventually turn brown. Now, I have a batch that I had already made, and it's black in the jar. So mine has been in there long enough to turn black, even in the jar, without being opened or exposed. So I'm going to make a new batch, and the reason I'm doing this is with the quill feathers is probably, maybe, when I run out of the Noodler's inks for the MIA Korean War writing project, I'll be using these. Iron gall ink, made myself, and quill feathers cut myself into pens. Cut by myself into pens. So, if you want to make iron gall ink, I'll put the link for Kremer Pigments. It's a wonderful shop. I believe they're in New York. And they carry all kinds of neat classic art, pigments, chemicals, supplies, it's a good thing I can't get there. I'd probably never come out of there. But anyway, I'm going to soak probably about 15 of them. This is 100 grams, fits in a mason jar, probably a pint mason jar. I mean, that's the label I put on there, so I would imagine I originally had 100 grams in there. And this is another 100 gram bag. So one of these bags fits in there. I don't know why I wouldn't have just put them all in there. So I must have bought 2 bags. This is, I think, 500 grams. Yep, 500 grams of iron sulfate. Now, with the iron sulfate, wear gloves, wear a mask, don't breathe it. It's worse than like cadmium. Don't get it on anything. Don't smoke or drink or eat when you're touching it. Consider it extremely toxic. When I made mine, probably 10 to 15 iron galls, I'm going to put in a peanut butter jar and cover them. They're going to float, but cover their mass with water. And so then if I put more in the jar and I put more water in the jar, that's how much ink I'm going to get. I am then going to, after a week, remove them, throw them away, get an old double boiler out, heat the ink, and as I'm heating it, my recipe says I added 1 teaspoon of iron sulfate last time. So 1 teaspoon to, I don't know, say at the most 20 little oak apple galls. And then, obviously, you drain it. Those would be out of there anyway. It should turn purple. Drain it, let it cool, put it in a bottle, and you have iron gall ink. But I recommend, when I just reread the paragraph, the recipe itself isn't in there. There probably are recipes online that may or may not be the same as this. But if you want to know all about inks and pen and ink, this is a wonderful, wonderful book.